Okay, so college is expensive, and it's just really expensive. What is up, my YouTube friends? Thank you so much for coming over to this part of YouTube. Welcome to the channel. Today Malik, I'm talking about myself in the third person, that's weird. I am going to be discussing why I chose Ithaca College, that's where I go now, and I am also going to be helping you make your college decision and telling you all the tips that I wish I would have known and just some things that I think will help you get through this. Right now, unless you're watching this in the future, we are all in quarantine, which means that you can't go visit your college. We're not in school, we're doing online classes through Zoom. I'm actually a tour guide. We're doing some virtual student panels, but there's no way you can physically go see the school right now. We can't even go back to school. My stuff is actually still at school because this all happened when we were on spring break. This is not endorsed by the school. This is not like sponsored. This is not any of those things. I really just want to help you because I know like college videos can be helpful. I watched them when I was going into school, so hopefully I can return the favor. I think the best thing to do would be to describe why I chose my school first. I chose Ithaca for a ton of reasons. I remember looking at a number of schools all across the country. I live in Brooklyn, and my mom was just like, please look at New York State schools. Stop thinking you're going to LA. You're not. I'm a journalism major as well as a sociology major, and we'll get into that in a little bit. I'm double majoring, which is crazy. So many communication schools exist at various colleges and universities. It is not like rare to find a college of communications. So what stood out to me about Ithaca was the fact that I could get hands-on experience right away. My first semester, I was on a brand new show as the politics and social media reporter that the seniors created. My second semester, I was reporting on TV for my school. And I actually went out to our whole like little city in Ithaca in Tompkins County. Just crazy opportunities that you have to usually, in some schools, I hear, wait until you're like a senior or a junior in order to start getting your hands on equipment. And since I had some experience already, I didn't want to not be able to just jump in. I think learning happens through experience, not just by sitting in a classroom. When you're looking at schools, like try to find out what's different about this specific school. If you're having the opportunity to talk to any students on panels, online, or anything like that, definitely feel free to ask them like, what's different do you think about your school versus other schools that are similar? When it comes to majors and figuring out what you want to do, I do tours all the time, and I know a ton of you have no clue what you want to do, and that's totally fine. It's fine, although you should be working on trying to figure out what you want to do. You need to know how your school treats you if you come in undecided. At Ithaca, we don't even use that word. Never a word. On my tour, I say undecided once, and I say it to explain that we have an exploratory program. We don't call students undecided. We sort of let you explore the college, you get an advisor, you have all of these things that sort of help you lead into choosing a major. And I think that that matters, right? Like, you need to figure out, is it going to be really hard for you to go into a major, certain majors that you might be interested in, but you're not sure of if you start out undecided or exploratory if you come to Ithaca. You need to know if you can change your major. How hard is it to do that? How hard is it if you're thinking about two different majors, like I was thinking about journalism and sociology or politics? How difficult is it to double major with those things? Some majors are complicated to mix match together. Others are not so hard. Can you create your own major? Yes, this is a thing. Integrative studies, I think we call it, or integrated studies, something like that. Major, can you chart your own course if that's something you want to do? These are questions that when you get into college you'll start to have, but it's when you're already in the institution and the rules are already there, it's kind of harder, right? But you could be asking these questions and taking a more proactive approach. I was able to really seamlessly start sociology. Other schools were telling me, no, you're not going to be able to double major. Like when I was like, or double majoring is really complicated. We really try not to do that. You should stick with one major. Those were schools I was like X, because I wanted to double major. Finding out what you don't want helps you figure out what you do want. And so figure out what you don't want as much as you can at these other schools so you can just cross schools off, and whatever is left is probably going to be the school that you would be most happy at. Okay, so sucks, but college is expensive. I think school could be a lot more affordable. I think it would be better for society. But who am I? When I was a high school senior going into this, I didn't think that cost would add up, but they do. For example, if you have, like in the fall semester, there's fall break, there's Thanksgiving break, and then you go home finally at the end. You also have to get to school in the fall. When you're doing all that coming back and forth, if you don't have like a steady way to do that and you're relying on a bus or a flight or some sort of like public transportation, it is so expensive. It adds up, right? When you think about, like, especially depending the farther you are from home, the more expensive those tickets on planes and all of that's going to be. And even if you go to like a really small college town, like Ithaca is a very expensive airport. Like their prices on the flights are extremely expensive most of the time, especially because the airlines know when, you know, we're coming to school and when we're not. So I think thinking about location matters in hindsight. You need to factor in cost, you know, when you're making your decision. If a school is extremely expensive and they don't really have what you want, or they're letting you in for a major that you were deferred from the major you really wanted, but this is the school you really wanted, like really think about these things, because these are decisions that are going to impact you. I've heard people in college say, oh, you know, like, I only have 2 more years, I'm just gonna suffer through it. Or I only, like, you know, it's just 4 years of my life. No one should be suffering for 4 years. That is not called college, that is trauma. I have an amazing scholarship at Ithaca, and I don't know where I'd be without the scholarship. Honestly, I'm really, really grateful for it, because I feel like the amount of loans and everything, it's just insane. When I was applying to schools, I remember being like, okay, I'm going to, you know, go on these random spam looking websites and apply for college scholarships, which none of that panned out for me. I think even like companies have scholarships, like I think Taco Bell has a scholarship. The other thing that people don't talk about as much is that schools have their own scholarships, meaning that if you go to that school, you can get that scholarship. As you're applying, you need to be looking at these scholarships. Now, I know at this point you're probably past that, but schools sometimes let you get into scholarships that people applied for in the beginning in later years. So maybe when you're a sophomore, you can start to apply, and by junior year, have that scholarship. Definitely see, like, is it possible if I didn't get into this scholarship now, can I potentially get into it later? Our school, Ithaca, there's a new scholarship, the Bold Scholarship, there's the MLK Scholarship, I'm a Park Scholar, there's the Leadership Scholars, like there are so many different scholarships, and it's not just like one person gets these awards. So you also want to know, can you become an RA? Not just can you become an RA, because I think probably every school allows you to become an RA. How hard is that application process? What's the ratio of like people that apply to people that don't apply? Because when you're like looking at different schools, some schools are way harder to become an RA because of maybe how big they are, or like size of a school really, really matters in some of these things. And so when you're an RA, you don't have to pay for room and board. Is that the case at the school you're looking at? When it comes to size too, I will also say that like, I don't have to take a bus to get to my class. Cornell, which is super close to us, they have to take buses to get to and from class, which is crazy. Like it's when you think about how big a campus can be versus our campus, which is more tight-knit than that. If you're someone who runs late all the time and you didn't have much of a commute in high school, I don't know how in the world you're going to be able to get up for an 8 a.m. and make it there if you have to take a bus. When I got to visit, because I did, I had the opportunity to see what the school was like. And I think you can also honestly get this vibe from a student panel potentially that's online. Try to feel the vibe. I will say there was one school in particular. It felt corporate. It felt like a machine that just wanted my money. I was going to have to fight to get in there. Like I heard a mom like literally yelling at her daughter. Like she was like, this is your only chance to meet the dean. If you don't meet the dean now, you're not gonna get it. It's just like, whoa. And I met the dean and she didn't seem like the greatest woman. So we're like high school seniors. Like don't make us feel like we can't have a conversation with you. I feel like it shouldn't be so complicated. When I went to Ithaca, I won't say it felt like home. It felt welcoming. During this time, I think the best thing to do would be to start emailing not just admissions counselors for your area. I would reach out and I would see, are they down to have a FaceTime or a Zoom with you? Are they open to just talking with you about the vibe of the school? I would also reach out to students. You can easily probably get tour guide information. If you see any students that are YouTubers, if you see any students that have a good Instagram following, like DM them and be like, hey, I just want to know what you think of Ithaca. I answer those emails like 99% of the time. Like, you reach out to 3 students and none of them get back to you. Is this a place you want to go? No one's even talking. Don't just talk to admissions counselors, talk to students, because we are like literally like in this. And that leads me to the point of, is this really where you want to be? Is this where your mom wants you to go? Where your grandpa went? Where your aunt thinks the buildings are nice? Where your cousin is obsessed with how hot students are there? Is like, who are you going to this school for? Because if it's not for you, I can tell you in the end, when you are living there for 4 years, you are going to dislike it. Hey, truth is, like, I know parents pay for school, right? I know that you're like, how in the world could I tell my mom I'm not gonna go when she went there, her sister went there, her mom went there? Like, how in the world do I not go to this school? I think just really try to be real and say, like, this is why I think this school's better, and have that conversation. Like, I want to do this, and I think this school will help me achieve that dream and that goal. I would also say that if you make a decision and you wind up disliking it and you realize a year in that it's not for you, it's not set in stone. Every single day that you remain at a school, you're choosing to be there for, I understand that there are outside circumstances, but it is in a way a decision to be at that school. If you're on the fence, I would try to look into the school and see, is the school accredited? Could I transfer anywhere from this school? How does a school I may want to transfer to accept transfer credits? How difficult is this? Because I think then that will help you see, like, if you're really not ready to make this decision right now, during a global pandemic especially, take a year off, take a semester off. I think, like, I wound up having a sort of gap year because of a medical situation. I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about the world. I got to see things. I got to travel. I got to see what it's like to have your body sort of recover from something. I got to do surgery. I got to do all of these things that I know not all of it seems really great, but it was really just a time where I learned a lot, and I'm not sure if the smartest thing is to take a gap year when you can't travel because the world is locked down and because there's a virus that could have a second wave. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if this is the best time to take a year off, honestly. I would rather be in school right now when you can't go anywhere than to just be off if I still then had to make up those credits later. I really want to bring up something that I think is important. Look up the school and the history of the school. Look up if there were protests in recent years. Our school has had some stuff in the past. Syracuse, I know, which is really close to us, had a lot of racial things and issues come up this past year. I just think it's good that you know what you're walking into. Look up Greek life. If you really want to be in a sorority house or fraternity, you need to make sure that you know whether or not your school actually has that and allows it. Ithaca doesn't. There is Greek life at Cornell though, so Ithaca students that really want to do that can sort of make their way over to Cornell and have that experience. And lastly, just want to remind you to definitely sign on to any virtual chats, reach out to students, figure out what life is like there now so you can see and how you would picture your life being placed there. I want to take a moment to send out the best vibes to all of you high school seniors and maybe juniors who are trying to come up with college decisions, especially during this time. I just feel for you, and I can't imagine trying to make a decision like this without going. But, you know, looking on social media, seeing all the images that you can of the school, looking up YouTube videos, I have some videos of Ithaca. Really, really listen to your heart and trust yourself and make the decision with whatever you have to make that decision at this moment. At that point, you just have to let it go. Thank you so much for chilling with me, and I will see you next Sunday. Bye.